Welcome to today's program. I am so delighted to have with me Pastor Billy Crone. He's the pastor of Sunrise Bible Church in Las Vegas, Nevada. He has authored 50 books, many of those on the end times, wonderful books. He's a speaker and author. He goes all over the world, churches and conferences. They also do documentaries. In addition to writing his books, he is a producer of documentaries, many of those, again, on the end times. But he's written this book, The Final Countdown, Tribulation Rising, the AI Invasion. That's what we're talking about today. Billy, thank you for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
Now, we talked on the last program, we talked about hybrids and super soldiers and the coming apocalypse, genetic apocalypse. Now, this is kind of the same type of an issue. Mm-hmm. I remember Stephen Hawking, the brilliant astrophysicist, before he died, he said AI will destroy humanity. Mm-hmm. And I remember when he said that, and I can't remember how many years ago that was, maybe 10 years ago. I remember when he said that, I just thought, well, they'll destroy humanity. Then you think about, Terminator, mm-hmm. Judgment Day, when the awakening comes and the artificial intelligence all of a sudden awakens, and I think it was Elon Musk said that the AI will develop thousands of times faster than we can. Mm-hmm. And once it begins to learn, it'll be impossible for us to keep up with. So how does this, is this in the Bible? How does this relate to the end times?
Well, I think two primary passages. One's Daniel chapter 12, and Daniel talks about how do you know you're in the end times, right? The end of days, he mentions there. And he says there, it's a global context that people are going to be traveling to and fro, and then their knowledge will increase. Right. Certainly, can we travel to and fro like never before on the planet? Yeah, I didn't get here by horseback, by the way, in case you're wondering. And we take it for granted. People can travel to and fro, whatever. Now they're talking about going to the moon, to the Mars, all that stuff. So that's there. But the other one, knowledge increase. In the Hebrew, the rabbah literally means to multiply. And do we see a multiplication of knowledge, dare I say, spiraling out of control, leading towards a negative term, end of time, end times? Yes, in fact, you mentioned these secularists, they have a term for it. Now, they don't use our biblical term, right. End of time, time of the end, as Daniel puts it. They call it singularity, and this is their own term. And singularity basically is when AI spirals out of control, because here's the process. They say it's going to happen. Right? They used to say 2045, now they're down to 2030, and I've heard even earlier than that because the technology is growing so fast, exponentially. But they say this is at the point where artificial intelligence finally reaches the intelligence of a human, which it's already here. Then they say, well, that version decides to do an upgrade on that version. Well, then that upgraded version does another upgrade on its version, and it begins to spiral out of control, upon which singularity arrives, where machines, AI, take over the world. That's what they say is going to happen. They don't call it end of times. God does. They just give it another term, singularity. But it's the exact same thing. Yeah. Knowledge, I think, is very easily demonstrated that it has increased on a massive scale. Certainly, Daniel, when he's writing this down, that's a 2,600-year-old prophecy, right? Yeah. No such thing as the internet or cell phone or all this. I mean, we didn't have the invention of the Gutenberg press. Right, until several centuries ago. But look at us today. We got more information than we know what we're doing. And is it, in fact, rabbah multiplying out of control? That's why you see terms in the newspaper. Knowledge doubling curve, knowledge tsunami, things it's getting out of control. The average single newspaper today has more knowledge in it than the person living in the 17th century would come across their entire lifetime. Right. And we just lined that with a bird cage. But then that's just one newspaper. Now we got what? With the internet, we got thousands of newspapers every day at a fingertip. We take it for granted. In fact, just to speed up, no pun intended, the knowledge, information, proof of that, our watches today have more intelligence than the original lunar lander. Yeah. And we don't think twice about it. But IBM just came out recently, and this is their own chart, and we of course show it, but they said it used to take every 100 years, one full century, for man's knowledge base to double. It's growing so fast now, IBM just admitted that it is man's whole knowledge base is doubling every 11 to 12 hours.
Holy cow.
It is spiraling out of control, and the secularists who are warning about this event called singularity that God calls end of times, Daniel 12, they are saying, and people have no idea how fast it is coming. But to me, that's AI. That's the rise of AI, and that's what it's doing. And AI is not coming.
Yeah.
It's already here in a multitude of forms. It's taking over the planet. That's why we call it the AI invasion.
Yeah.
It's invading every sector of society. And boy, here's the other text. That's Daniel 12, Revelation 13. Let's go back to Revelation 13. All right, wait a second there. It's a global context. It says the Antichrist and the false prophet, they're literally going to be micromanaging the planet. And it's like, and they're going to control certainly the buying and selling, so they got to control all the economies. But wait a second, how do you control not just all the global economies, but it's down to the individual level? They get this mark, and then because of that mark, they can gain access to this selling. So that means you have to be able to control the whole global economic system, a cashless society. You have to literally have every person tied into that system that's tied into every transaction, anywhere in the world, any product, how do you do that? Well, the infrastructure we already have. The cashless society, the satellite technology, our global economies are already, we're used to that. But wait a second, you can't hire enough humans for that. You really think people are going to be back there, hey, Earl in Tunisia is trying to, he didn't take the mark, he's not going to, no! You need something superhuman to run that global back-end system to control all the buying and selling. Guess what? AI's here. AI can do it. And AI, that's just one of the ways it's being invaded. It's already taken over the economy just in time for the Antichrist and the false prophet to do their dirty deeds and micromanage the planet. And that's just the economy. It says there's going to be this image, Revelation 13. Right. And if you don't worship this image, it says you're going to die. Well, let's think about that. How are you going to know? Can you give an order today? Yeah, satellite technology, communications, you can make an announcement anywhere you want on the world. Again, we take that for granted. But how are you going to know when you give that order if somebody did or didn't obey? Well, that's Big Brother technology, right? And these guys, the same guys, they're birthing what's called the IoT, the Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things is basically, thanks to the 5G upgrade, which now gives them the computer speeds with satellite technology, that they are tying in everything on the planet. Everything is going to have a microchip. Every person, every pet, every tree, every product, every building, every car, the whole system. And they will tie it together in this matrix system, right? And including the Big Brother technology, all the cameras that are out in the streets, in the buildings, in the restaurants, in the gas stations, in your own home, with all of these devices like Alexa and the Nest system and all these things.
My wife won't let those in the house.
And she's smart for that. You should take her out to eat for that. Yeah. But guess what? Then all these things can be tapped into, including the cell phone, which to me is the biggest Big Brother device ever invented in the history of mankind, and we pay for it, by the way, because everybody's got to have one. But these things can not only watch you, they listen to you, we document all this, but here's my point. So all that technology is unleashed on the planet, it's already here. Order goes out, you better worship the Antichrist. If you don't, you'll get shut out, you got to take this mark, and I'm not going to do that. How's he going to know? And again, you can't hire enough people to tap into all these systems, but AI can, and they will know instantaneously through conversations, through videos, both, exactly what you're doing, whether or not you obey. And that's not just a crazy extrapolation like, well, maybe in 50 years, that technology already exists.
Yes, it does.
And I've said this before, and I don't think it's an obtuse statement when you understand the technology. I've been saying for the last year, I believe that the emergence of AI that's already here is just as big as a prophecy watershed moment as when Israel became a nation in 1948. And you're like, what? Well, first of all, why do we think that Israel becoming a nation is such a big sign? Well, because Israel is one of the major players in the 7-year tribulation.
Sure.
So you can't have a 7-year tribulation until Israel's back on the scene. Well, they've been off the scene for a long time. Well, now they're back. That's why that was such a big watershed moment. Like, oh, now we have the audience and the characters needed for Israel's back in the land. Same thing with AI. You can't pull off Revelation 13 and what I just described with the Antichrist and false prophet, the micromanaging the planet, the micromanaging the economies, because you can't hire enough humans. You need to have something superhuman come along to control this global matrix you're building, as Revelation 13 describes. Well, guess what? It's here, and AI not only has the capability, but it's already being put in the background. Again, the invasion to control the very thing that's going to happen in the 7-year tribulation.
So what's happening today, I totally agree with that. It's such a dangerous, when you put fallen mankind in control of other people with that much power, it's a dangerous thing. We know where it's going. Revelation 13. The average person out there, the average believer that's watching this program right now, how does this affect them today, and what should we do in the face of any of the AI that you talk about AI being the new electricity?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how should we reject it? What should we be careful of related to AI?
Well, I think number one, as Christians, I think we need to realize that this is a sign from God, just like all the other Bible prophecy topics.
Yeah.
You need to translate it for what it is. I say all the time, this isn't meant to scare you. It's not a time to be fearful. It's a time to be faithful.
Right.
God tells us these things in advance so that he doesn't tell us the exact day nor the hour of the rapture, but he does tell us when it's getting close.
Right.
So this is a sign it's getting close, because I believe the ultimate fulfillment of this is going to transpire in the 7-year tribulation. But we as Christians leave prior to the 7-year tribulation. So I'm not afraid. If anything, I should get more excited, going like, okay, I don't know exactly when, but man, it's got to be getting close.
Yeah.
All the chess pieces are played. So number one, that's how we need to translate that, because number one, you're not going to stop AI.
Yeah.
It's already here. It's already being built as the panacea, controlling the back end of global systems all over the planet. So number one, translate that into excitement and obedience as the bride of Christ, and get the gospel out to as many as you can. That's why we're still here.
Yeah.
So let's be that faithful bride. Number two, from a practical point, I would say you need to exercise some wisdom. And if you don't want every conversation, everything that you do, then like your wife,
Yeah.
you probably should stay away from this technology that literally not can be, but is being tapped into to monitor your every conversation, every move. So I think those are some of the practical steps that we need to take. Again, not out of fear, that's just common sense. I don't want people, and I'm not joking, some of us prophecy teachers, we joke about, okay, if we want to start talking about some sensitive stuff, and we're like at a hotel or a conference or whatever, we'll literally take our phones and shove them down in under the couch.
Yeah.
Not because we're wearing a tinfoil hat, because
Sure.
it's being monitored. So there's some practical things that you could do with that. But again, to me, the third thing is, even the non-Christian is fascinated with AI. Because it's the buzzword today. AI, ooh, cool, AI, look at it. And see, that's how they're pitching it. It's going to give us this ultimate convenience, and it'll run your finances, it'll run your education, it'll run all of agriculture and the military and even your religion. That's a whole other aspect. It'll run the police force, and it'll make your life so simpler. It'll be the greatest servant. We'll have AI robots that have a babysitter and watch the elderly folks and take care of this and that and all this. It's going to be great. And so they're enamored with it for all the wrong reasons, but they're aware of it. But you and I now, as a Christian who know better,
Yeah.
and can understand this, why this is important as a prophecy sign, if anything, God's serving up to us on a golden platter one of the easiest ways to witness to the lost.
Yeah.
We'll say, yeah, isn't that, that's fascinating, isn't it? But let me tell you something about that. Let me tell you why you need to be a little bit concerned about that. Let me tell you what the Bible says, not only predicted this would happen, but where it's headed.
Yeah.
Even the seculars admit it's leading towards end of time, singularity. And here's the good news. There's a way out.
Yeah.
His name is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And you need to get saved. So if anything, that should be our response as Christians.
That's really good. Well, so Satan's original lie to Adam and Eve was, you can be like God. Mm-hmm. Eat that fruit, and you can become like God. And it's still the lie that's being told today.
Yeah.
Now, in Genesis 11, when God came to the Tower of Babel and saw them trying to make a name for themselves, rejecting God, becoming their own God, he said, if I don't divide these people, nothing that they do will be impossible for them. We're created in the image of God. We're the bride of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Paul Bilheimer said, if God would have created us any higher, he would have breached the Godhead. So we are made in the image of Christ. We will spend eternity with him. And so we are very highly created. And that's my point. And God said, if I don't divide them, nothing will be impossible. So as time goes on, anything that man dreams of, ultimately, I believe that within reason, he'll be able to accomplish. But God will not allow him to accomplish it. Mm-hmm. The AI, God is not going to be replaced by AI. Mm-hmm. God is not going to be replaced by the Antichrist. And my point is this, when I wrote my book, Tipping Point, the reason I chose the title Tipping Point for this book is we're way past, you can't ever go back.
Yeah.
And so AI is here to stay. I believe exactly what you just said. It will be a part of the end time scenario. Mm-hmm. But when you read Revelation 13, where it talks about literally the rise of the Antichrist, Revelation 13 is the apex. He's in control. Everybody worships him. He's in control of the economy. Revelation 16 is where God comes and pours the bowl out, and curses the kingdom of the Antichrist, and they gnaw their tongues because of the pain. But the interesting thing is their ability is they curse God rather than repent. Now this is a tough group of people, tough as in unrepentant. This is a group of people that are so sworn to the Antichrist and to following the Antichrist, even in the face of the most horrific judgments, Revelation 16, the bowl judgments, they still will not repent. And so by that time, I don't know if they're augmented, like you were talking about the chip.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're augmented, I don't know what's happened, but they're sold out. I mean, in the wrong sense, they're sold out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's just like Satan back with AI. Satan, you look at him, of course, the Antichrist is going to be his man on the planet at that time. And he'll have his day in the sun, so to speak, but God, you're right, comes and judges him. Obviously, God's God.
Yeah.
And you're not going to stop the reign of his son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior,
That's
coming
right.
back to the planet.
That's right.
And unfortunately, they learn the hard way, and those who get duped by the Antichrist of their own doing. But anyway, Satan, his fall, Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, what was the reason for his fall? He wanted to be what?
That's right.
God.
Right.
Well, he's not. He's just a created being. He's an angel. He's a fallen angel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Powerful, but you're not, here's the point, you're not all powerful like God.
Right.
You're not all knowing like God, right? You're not everywhere present like God, right? Omnipotence, omnipresence, etc. So what does he do? He does what he always does, the counterfeit. And that's what the scripture talks about, the Antichrist, false prophet, are what? Counterfeit wonders and signs and miracles, right? They're not, you don't have power like God, but they give the illusion in the 7-year tribulation that you have, quote, God-like powers.
Right.
The Antichrist, even at one point, declares himself to be God. The middle point, the abomination of desolation.
Yeah.
You say, well, how can he dupe people to do that? You know, well, again, AI gives that counterfeit impression that
Right.
this guy has godlike powers. Again, how is he going to counterfeit the all-knowing omniscience of God? He can't do it in real. Well, you tie all this Big Brother, technology and AI running that system, he'll almost like God know everybody's conversation, what they're thinking, what they're doing, where they're at, all that stuff. So it's a counterfeit. AI helps him to do that, to achieve this false godhood. Everywhere presence. He's not, Satan, even to this day, he's got a lot of third of the angels, fallen angels with him. They can get around the planet, but they're not everywhere present like God. So how's he going to do that? AI can see through all this stuff that's, where people are at the same time, right? And on it goes. So AI fits that lie of the Antichrist being God, a counterfeit godlike powers in the 7-year tribulation.
We have, the AI is man-made, but we will, in the beauty of the rapture and the coming of Christ, is we will have the mind of Christ. See, we will have the infinite knowledge of God, but that knowledge won't just be human knowledge, it'll be divine knowledge. And so the promise that the devil is making, or the promise the world is making right now, that you'll have this ultimate intelligence, and you talked about this in your book, that you talked about genetics, and that is, there will come a point in time when you're 110 years old. I mean, if things will not go that far, I don't believe, but if God allowed it to go to that point, that you're 110 years old and you're going for an upgrade. And they upgrade your body to where you're 30 or 20, however long, and every year you're going for an upgrade. They heal all your diseases. They give you the latest upgrade that's available mentally, physically, and all that kind of stuff. This is where this is heading, and they're promising you can become like God.
Right.
You can be eternal. You can be omniscient. All of those kinds of things. But God would never allow that.
Right.
And that's the point for all the believers watching. When you hear about all this AI stuff, technology is neutral. I don't think that technology is good or bad. And I would just make the argument, I don't think we're any better off because of the internet. I don't think we're any better off because of cell phones. And you look at social media, we're way worse off because of social media. And so a lot of the technology that has come with the promise of benefiting us has not benefited us at all.
Right.
And this is another example, but this has a very terminal effect, ultimately.
Yeah, well, you mentioned terminal. That's a whole other aspect that we bring out. And could this be a part of the global wars in the 7-year tribulation?
Wow.
Our last interview, we talked about super soldiers, but there's also with AI, they're developing what's called neuromorphic chips, which is basically a fancy word for brain chips. And they're building brain chips, and they've been doing this for years, again, back to DARPA, but other countries around the world, including Russia and China. And their goal is, we're going to make, as crazy as this sounds, we're making Terminator robots, and they're going to be the new soldier for the future. And the reason why they like these is because from a practical and economic point, right? Do you have to give a lifetime of health care to a Terminator robot? No. Do they whine and complain about their orders? No. They do what they're told every single. And this is how they're pitching it in the militaries, including our own. General William Cohn, we got him on record. He said that their desire right now in the U.S. military is very soon we're going to replace one third of combat soldiers with these Terminator soldiers.
Wow.
Right? And so they're popping this AI system, these brain chips into these things, and they're far along with this. It's not like, well, that's just going to take a while. No, it's already here. And Russia, we share in the documentary, we share with the AI invasion, we share that Russia has a Terminator soldier out. It's called Fedor, F-E-D-O-R. Go watch some videos. It'll freak you out. And this thing is not only driving Jeeps, it's doing push-ups, it's using power drills. This thing is shooting pistols in both hands, and it never misses.
Good.
Now, again, what's the rule? If this is what you admit that you got with AI in public, what do you really got that we don't even know about?
Sure.
Right? So you go to these wars, it's like, man, how is 1/4 of the planet going to get annihilated in the sealed judgments, the first half, and dare I say, and this is the question, dare I say without nuclear warfare? And the reason why I say that, because if you resorted to full-on nuclear warfare to annihilate 1/4 of the planet, you're in a nuclear winter. Everything stops, you're done. But that's not what we see. No. We see the Antichrist still doing his thing, coming up with the mark of the beast, the societies and global society still going on. So how are you going to annihilate 1/4 of the planet very quickly, right, without dropping a nuke? Well, you look at some of the military technology that's out there, amongst some of the other reasons mentioned there, famine and wild beasts and things of that nature. But you add this layer to it, and you could certainly see how they could do it. Now, because it's not just soldiers, right? They're using AI in the militaries, our own around the world, to provide manless systems. Right. There's no human involved. Now, if this is starting to sound familiar like a movie, it is. It's called the Terminator scenario.
Yeah.
Where basically they built a Skynet system that controls all the militaries around the world. Skynet becomes self-aware, takes over, and then starts to annihilate humanity. Well, Skynet's already here. They don't call it Skynet. It's called Project Maven, M-A-V-E-N. And the U.S. military is already using AI, Project Maven, to make the decisions on the battlefield, not humans. Wow. This is not coming, it's already here. And also, they're taking existing military equipment. They're saying, well, how are they going to get, how many trillions of dollars they'd have to spend to retool military to get it to be manless and no humans running? No, they figured out where they can pop these AI systems onto not just fighter jets, submarines, boats, I'm talking Jeeps, supply vehicles, and they pop them onto these existing systems that they already have, and there's no humans. And we share it on tape. You could watch them. There's no person driving that jet fighter. There's no person driving that Jeep, right? And there's no person doing that boat. And they also have developed, the military, it's called swarm technology. Swarm technology allows, for instance, we share this from the Navy, and we share Navy, Army examples, Air Force, and they take a Navy boat, a manless, they popped AI system on it, and it's a Navy boat out there, but they pop it on all the other Navy boats, okay, and they can communicate with each other. So that then they can swarm, this is their term, swarm the prey. So it's not just an individual boat. Now the boats can communicate with each other.
Wow.
And well, wait a second, then if they can communicate with each other through satellite technology with AI, then couldn't they control the Jeeps and the jets, and then not just our military, but other, you can see where it's going.
Well, in the Olympics in Tokyo this past summer, they had a globe in the middle of the Olympic Stadium, and it was the drones. Mm-hmm. It was had some kind of a light on them, and they controlled those drones, and those drones were operating. It was unbelievable. Yeah. To get that many drones, it was the type of system you're talking about. Yeah. They all communicate with each other. It's a program that it's amazing. Yeah. What it does.
Well, and that's what some people say. Well, if I see one of those drones coming, I'm just going to hide. Well, the other thing they're developing with AI is what's called not UAVs, that's unmanned aerial vehicles or whatever, water vehicles, but they have MAVs, micro aerial vehicles.
Right.
And basically, it's the same thing. You may not very well recognize it as a, quote, drone because it looks like a fly. It looks like a bird.
Right.
We got this document. It looks like a shark. It looks like a jellyfish. But it's not. It's an AI vehicle that carries a payload. In fact, DARPA, back to DARPA again, we got on tape, they are developing a robotic cheetah that is armed. Now go back again to that. It's like, are you serious?
It's brilliant. I mean, have a dolphin with a nuke inside of it and swim up next to the ship or something.
Or you're on land because they got it all covered in the sky, in the air, on the land, on the water, and under the water. It's all covered by these MAVs. And so, but you put yourself with the robotic cheetah. By the way, can you outrun a cheetah? No. And you get this thing armed. So again, I'm not saying that's safe the Lord, but it adds a whole other layer of after the rise of the Antichrist, Revelation 6:1, the first seal as a judgment of God, the false peace utopia. Right after that, doesn't take much long, and here comes a global war. Then comes a global famine. Then the fourth one tells you the output. 1/4 of the earth is annihilated by sword, famine, pestilence, and what? Wild beasts. Right. So now add to this layer with, can you outrun this robotic cheetah, and how does 1/4 of the earth, and again, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
It'll be terrifying, and the thing is, like with Afghanistan right now, the Taliban, all this technology is falling into their hands. The billions and billions of dollars worth of our technology, think about that technology falling into the hands of people like that. It'd be a terrorist.
Yeah.
But that world is going to be an unbelievable world. Now, in your book, it's the final countdown, tribulation rising, the AI invasion. Now, I'm fascinated by the contents here because you talk about the future of business, the future of local finances, global finances, the future of home and city conveniences, shopping conveniences, service conveniences, entertainment conveniences, media conveniences, gaming conveniences, agriculture, doctors and surgeries, diseases, and all that. And so the AI has a multitude of different applications. Talk about that.
Well, and again, it's being pitched as the panacea. This is going to help everybody, simplify things. Although they admit that AI is going to annihilate 50% of the jobs across the globe.
Wow.
Because it's all going to be automated.
Right.
Some of that is because of the liberal mindset that we need to pay X amount of dollars, for somebody just a basic job. They don't need humans for that anymore. AI can flip that burger.
Yeah.
In fact, and that's so for the corporations, they're looking at this like, I don't need humans. Yeah, it's cheaper for me to buy a $35,000 automatic burger flipper with AI than to pay that human. And so, if anything, they're being pushed in that direction with the liberalism. But let me explain to you the term that they have for AI in the industry. Again, it's called the new electricity. And let me explain that. And they say that just like electricity of old, when it first came out, it was a buzzword. And it was like, wow, this is amazing technology, and this is kind of cool. We don't have to use gas lamps anymore, and are afraid of causing a fire, and it's going to just help things and make life easier. And we can bring it into our homes, and it can power other devices. It sounds so futuristic and awesome. And then after people talked about it for a while, it died down as far as the buzzword. Nobody really talked about electricity anymore. But did it go away? No. Electricity then began to permeate all of aspects of our life, including today. We can't exist without it.
No.
That's what they're saying is happening right now as we sit here with AI. AI is the new electricity. It's the buzzword. People go, hey, it's kind of cool, kind of eclectic. It's not just that. And then even after the conversation long dies down, I've heard about artificial intelligence, whatever. No, it's not going away. That's why we called it the AI invasion. It is now going behind the scenes and is being used to build and to redefine and rerun and manage global systems across the whole planet. And you mentioned it's going to radically change business. It's going to radically change finances. Again, Revelation 13, shocker, right? It's going to run your educational system. It's going to run your militaries. It's going to run your agriculture, right? It's going to run the big brother systems, the monitoring systems, your whole transportation systems. Everybody, you got to not just go to an electric car, but one that drives itself. That's AI, right? And things of that nature. The concerning thing back to, they say, we're going to let AI basically be the new police force. And you go, what? Yeah, we brought this out. This is kind of creepy. This is another movie premise. Tom Cruise, Minority Report. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
And basically the AI could predict before somebody did a crime. It's called pre-crime. That's already here with AI. And it's already been implemented in cities around the world where AI is now not only allowed to access all the Big Brother CCTVs and devices, phones and things of that nature, but also the databases of all the information on all of us that we give them, whether it be our vehicle records, transaction records, medical, our financial history, all that stuff, social media, all that stuff. And so AI is so powerful, it's monitoring all that, it's building profiles to where now they are able to, quote, predict when somebody's going to commit a crime before they even do the crime, just like Minority Report. I'm not jumping up.
I guarantee it'll happen.
And they're pitching, see, wouldn't this be great? We can stop crime before it happens if we just allow AI to take over all these systems.
Yeah, you didn't commit a crime, but we're arresting you.
Yeah.
I mean, well, so let me ask you some questions here. We have some questions from some of our viewers. So this is Teresa. The whole AI thing and clones confuses me. Is there a soul in these lab-created humans? It baffles my mind. We know there are AI clones created, and I wonder about their souls. If man creates it in this unnatural form, is there a spirit?
Yeah. Well, AI kind of would have to ask her a little bit more knowledge of what she means by an AI clone. What they are doing with AI, again, they're putting it into a cyborg scenario, like a machine, like a Terminator robot. Well, that doesn't have a soul, right? Number one. I'm not aware of necessarily AI being merged with a human clone. Although they're looking at a cyborg scenario where you can get a chip inside of a person to upgrade the person, that's a different thing. But it's still a person, even though it's got an upgrade. Just like you walk around with an upgrade called your phone, that doesn't make you a non-human.
Right.
But I will say this about the clone. This kind of goes back to the previous program. If you think cloning went away with Dolly the sheep, you're fooling yourself. Cloning today, you can check it out. Easy to demonstrate. Cloning is so popular nowadays that we can now, they offer services, I know of at least 2 in the United States, and there's others around the world, where you can clone your pets. It's now a service.
Wow.
You can clone a horse for $50,000, a dog for $30,000, and a cat for $20,000. Obviously, it's a sliding scale depending on the size.
That's incredible.
Right, so here's my point. Now you think, well, that's kind of creepy. That sounds like another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. They had that Repet commercial. Well, again, Hollywood's preparing us for the future to come. It's not just entertainment. It's propaganda, soft disclosure. But if you think that they're only doing that with animals, again, you're fooling yourself. And I believe, and this is from the words of the people in the industry doing the cloning, that they've probably already done humans, and the reason why is because they tell us they want to do humans. But here's the danger, back to the soul aspect. They are saying that we want to clone humans. You know why? Because of the organ donor issue, right? Maybe people freak out because we're going to put one in a pig and maybe it'll go in the brain. And well, how about we just clone people? And what we'll do is we'll allow them to grow long enough so that we can harvest their organs so that we could use them for people. Wouldn't that be great? And here's my point. They're pitching that because you're like, you're going to grow humans and treat them like a crop of corn just to harvest them at the right time? That's sick. But here's how they're pitching it, and here's the danger. They say, but don't worry, that clone does not have a soul.
Right.
I disagree. Now, mankind can never be God. Mankind is good at manipulating existing material.
Right.
So mankind can take what God already created, the sperm and the egg, and you can put it together. You can even put it together in a test tube. But who's the author of life? Who's the one that causes the spark? Who makes it happen?
Right.
It's God. So even though you can create a clone of a human in a lab with God's already provided information, that is still a human.
Yeah.
But here's my point. This is how sick and evil and wicked this is. They're preparing people's mindsets to say that clones are not humans because of the ethical issue of what they want to do. They want to harvest them and grow them like a crop to make billions of dollars.
Using as slaves.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But they're conditioning the rest of us to think that they're no longer humans so they can get away with their dirty deed.
Yeah. This is George. I wonder whether the evidence of alien life, which in my opinion would be the manifestation of demonic beings, will lead to the great falling away.
Well, I think back to we talked on the previous program, UFOs. I believe that they're the custom-tailored lie, starting way back with Darwin, because you need the lie of evolution.
Right.
That's going to explain away the rapture. They're also saying that those who were left behind that didn't get taken up by the space brothers, how they explain away the rapture, is going to, you're a chosen one, that's going to be fantastic. But back to AI, we've actually got on tape, you want to talk about demons, demonic? We've got on tape that some of the silicone engineers that are coding and creating AI. And I got one guy on tape, and you know what he said? I could not believe I came across it. You know what he said, how he's getting this information to create AI? He says, I get into an altered state of consciousness. He meditates. And he says, and I just wait. And he says, pretty soon, he said, I just get this information downloaded into my brain about how to create it. And he says, and here's what the beings who are giving him this information to create AI, it's on tape, it's crazy. He says, these beings who are given this information in the altered state of consciousness to create AI, he says they've come from the future. And they're future humanity trying to help us hurry up and create AI. Well, you and I know what that is.
Oh, sure.
It's demons. So I believe that there is a demonic element even into the creation of AI that we're seeing today.
Yeah, because the thinking, AI, the artificial intelligence in the thinking, this is not just random thinking. This is programmed thinking. They're programming it. Mm-hmm. This is programmed thinking that will arrive at certain conclusions based on the programming. So in other words, it's not biblical programming.
Yeah.
It's not taking the Bible and creating thoughts that would be consistent with that. How is the knowledge of UFOs single-handedly being used to usher in one of the darkest, most deceptive times of mankind?
Well, again, I think it's being used to explain away the rapture. I think that's the number one biggest thing that it's doing it. And also for those that are left behind, to make them feel like this is fantastic instead of, oh no, what did I do? Why didn't I listen to my Christian brother or sister, family member, coworker, neighbor? I've been left behind. No, this going to be pitched as the age of utopia. It's fantastic. So I certainly think there's that aspect. I also think there's a dangerous aspect that's going around, because even people who believe in intelligent design, which you can't escape, right? Which is Romans chapter 1.
Absolutely.
God says nobody is without a ragged excuse. You're not going to stand before God and say, I didn't have enough proof. The light of creation, from the flea to the tree to the bee to you and me, you take a look and you go, there's no way this happened by chance. Designing something implies a designer.
That's right.
Right? So even the scientific community today, even in evolution, who are forced to admit this evolution thing's a bunk because we see design, it implies a designer. Here's the lie. It was the aliens. Yep. The aliens came, it's called transpermia. Aliens came and seeded this planet.
Yep.
And that's really where we came from, which is again, that's a lie. So again, it's being used to steer people away.
That's on the History Channel all day long.
Yeah, I call it the heretical channel.
Yeah. So they talk about the pyramids and the aliens came and started.
Yeah.
But more people in Europe believe in aliens than believe in God. Mm-hmm. And so you were talking about the entertainment industry. They've done a phenomenal job of preparing people for the lie.
Yeah.
For the Antichrist, for all the technology, for all that Minority Report, Judgment Day, all of these theoretical movies that came out weren't just theoretical.
Yeah.
This is the inevitability of what is happening, the future that's going to happen. And so, if Jesus tarries, and I don't think that Jesus is going to tarry much longer.
Yeah.
When you talk about Jerusalem, you talk about Israel, there had been significant end-time signs happening since 1948.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing, Jesus talked about this being the beginning of birth pains. The birth pains are very hard. And, I started teaching on the end times 40 years ago, and I remember making statements like, it's going to get a lot worse. And back in the 1980s, I thought, how could it get worse? We've got R-rated movies out there on TV, How could it get any worse? And you see every decade. But since about 2015, it just seems like the pedals to the metal.
Yeah.
And just craziness. But also the acceleration of the technology. There is an acceleration like never before. And you were talking about knowledge doubling every
11, 12 hours, according to IBM.
Absolutely believe that. And we're seeing this happen. So this is happening very quickly. But this is, you know, the artificial intelligence and everything that Billy's talking about, this is the major sign of the end times, Daniel 12, which is knowledge increasing. And we're seeing knowledge absolutely exploding in the days that we're living in. Billy, thank you so much for being with me. Now tell them the website, because you've got books, you've got your documentaries, you've got so much good information. Tell the website of how the folks can get your stuff.
Yeah, you can go to our teaching website, getalifemedia.com. That's GETALIFEMEDIA. getalifemedia.com. You can get the books there. You can also get the DVDs that come with the set.
Yeah.
Again, if you think the information's wild on the books, check out the DVDs, because you'll see, again, the actual interviews with the actual think tanks, the scientists, the media moguls. Everybody's, it's crazy, but watch it come out of their own mouth. This is really what they're planning for the planet.
Well, one of the things that I like about your teaching is, like in your books, this is documentation. You know, you're not just pontificating, you're documenting what they've actually said. And on your DVDs, you can see the actual person. But I think it's so helpful, you know, and for yourself, I know for me, I love this kind of information because it helps to contextualize. The thing about end times teaching done well is it's comforting, but it also helps to contextualize. You're hearing all this stuff being said. Well, what does it mean? Well, you're doing a great job of helping us to understand what it means, because AI is a reality. This is happening, and it's going to continue to happen. Billy, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thank you again for having me.
You bet. And thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back next time for another Tipping Point. God bless you.